we do see some of those smaller studios like A24 and Neon and even Lucky Chap, Margot Robbie's, and Hello Sunshine, which not anymore. But they did learn to thrive there for a bit. They did try to figure that out, right? And it's like, I don't know, those mid-budget landmines, because they're landmines now, as we just saw with the Smashing Machine. But A24 and Neon and even Searchlight started to redefine how you win at the box office, especially if you're an indie filmmaker, right?
Yeah, completely agree. And I mean, A24 specifically, it's its own brand of cool now. Like, I mean, obviously they got their own merchandise. It's kind of like their own niche, not hipster, but kind of like hipster, more grungy, like New York, definitely New York. When their logo hits the big screen, everybody loves to see it. It's something that's becoming a household thing that is cool. And you know, it's not going to be a cookie cutter type of film, and it's going to feel different. And honestly, like, because I'm starting to collect physical media and stuff again too.
Right.
And like a lot of people who love movies, who love music, like they're starting to get back into physical media, and like retro stuff is starting to come back. Even seeing it with like vehicles and things like that. So, I mean, what's the difference between starting to collect physical media again but not going to the theaters? Because you feel like they would kind of be hand in hand,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of not the same. I don't know. I think you need to make movies that remind people, specifically millennials, because we are the key age demographic right now. You need to remind millennials of those films that came out when they were a kid, or the 90s, right? I think those are the films that people want to see. Like, so I think Hollywood needs to go back and do some research on what was so successful in the 90s and early 2000s to bring that back to current day time.
Well, and that's what used to make them successful.
Hmm.
Neon and Lucky Chap and A24 would do that. They would pick stories that they knew the audience hadn't seen before, something they could connect with, something that they could go and say, that's what I'm talking about. That's my life up on the screen. I'm living that every day. It's about connectability. And early on and up until just recently, and I think there's a reason why it's starting to backfire and fail now, because they're I feel like they're losing their way a little bit. But when they did do that, when they didn't worry about blockbusters, they just worried about good storytelling that would connect with people. And when it did connect, they saw huge returns on investment. They made a lot of money off those films that nobody saw coming, but then made a huge deal at the box office. And that is where they lived for so long, but not anymore, right? Like,
Yeah, it's freaking wild. I mean, just to think about where we are now and trying to navigate all of those mid-range projects, because that's why the whole Smashing Machine situation is so fascinating, because it did come out of Venice being the talk of the town. Everybody was talking about, oh, Dwayne has gone serious acting and wants to get more in dramatic roles, and he wants to be an actual like Oscar contender. A24 took a big swing on that mid-budget prestige space, but even they couldn't overcome how fragile that particular lane has become. And I don't know, like I said, I mean, I think that's how you get out of it. You have to remind people of nostalgia. You have to, I think that's why you're starting to see, like, even though Caught Stealing wasn't technically a success, I think a lot of people were talking about that film, and it wasn't a great film. It was like a mid film. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
entertaining, but not one that I'd watch again. But it was one of those that reminded you of original storytelling from when original storytelling was successful, to be
Yeah,
opinion.
well, and you know where I think they messed up with the Smashing Machine, and where I think a lot of these studios lately, like you said, with Caught Stealing and a handful of these films, is they're not anticipating correctly, right? They think big name means quality, but big
Hmm.
name doesn't mean quality all the time. And I think that's the biggest reason for Smashing Machine. It just was not a good movie. And that's, yeah, I was blown away because A24 normally the films that they put out, the stories, and when we get to our top 5 this week, you'll see what we're talking about. They were driven on quality storytelling. And, the last few that they've kind of delivered haven't been there. There's no story in the storytelling, And okay, spoiler alert, guys, spoiler alert. There's this section and I didn't go full into it in my review, but I want to say it because I think it emphasizes the point. There is a moment in the film, in Smashing Machine, where they reference that the character, Kerr, has overdosed. And he's on the floor, unresponsive. And his girlfriend can't wake him up. And she calls the paramedics, and they can't wake him up. They can't get him to respond. They rush him to the hospital, and the hospital's having a hard time. They're not sure if he's going to make it. They think he may die. And now think about that. If you're a filmmaker, or even more so if you're an audience member, that's a very visual scene, right? That's something that, if you see Kerr on the ground, unresponsive, and his girlfriend's frantically crying and screaming, trying to wake him up, and the paramedics get there, and they can't get him, they can't revive him, and they're trying to fight her off to keep her away from him so they could do their job, and then he gets to the hospital, and they're like, we don't think he's gonna make it, you're engaged, you're connected, you're like, holy shit, is he gonna die? Oh my gosh. We didn't get that. We didn't get to see that. We get her saying that on a phone call to his friend. Oh, yeah, he overdosed and he was unresponsive and I didn't know what to do, so I'm calling you. And then in the hospital bed, Kerr tells his friend, yeah, she tried to wake me up and they couldn't. The paramedics tried to wake me up. I don't really remember it. It's boring. I want to see that. And I feel like that is where it fully... There are moments throughout the entire film where you are told something that visually would have been much more captivating and engaging if you had seen it. And I think that's why most people are coming away with what you said. It's boring. It's boring. There's nothing that just grabs you and goes, one moment with her when she's got the gun and one moment where you're like, oh shit. But that's it. I don't know, man. It's just goes to show you that even the smartest studios make mistakes sometimes, man.
Yeah, completely agree. Because A24 has been doing this interesting thing recently where they still make their niche style films, but they're also going for bigger budgeted, bigger releases, things like that. Because Eddington, which I haven't seen yet, I really want to.
Yeah.
Which is a pandemic story, which is smaller, but then you have... That came out during the summer, but then you have Marty Supreme that's going to come out on Christmas Day with Timothée Chalamet. That's definitely going to be a Oscar contender, in my opinion. That looks like a bigger budget, and that will probably be one that people go see on Christmas Day. But when they stay in their lane, that's when they produce something raw, bold, and unique.
Exactly.
That's why they crush it when they make good original content like that, even if it's weird. When I saw the TV Glow with Justice Smith, super weird, but I get it. Again, it's A24, man. They're gonna make weird shit, and that's okay because it's storytelling. It's outside the box. It's art, and art is interpretive. You think about Everything Everywhere All at Once, a huge win at the Oscars a couple years ago. Talk to Me, The Iron Claw. All of those worked because they were so distinct and they weren't safe. That's what Hollywood's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be safe. Step outside the box and create something crazy. Look at 2001 Space Odyssey. Look at Interstellar. Look at A Clockwork Orange. Look at freaking Easy Rider.
Yeah.
All of these films are not safe, and these are the classics that filmmakers go back to get inspiration. We need more of that. What is our next generation going to look at in current day time as a film that they can look at as inspiration to make something great? And there's not a lot out there right now.
No, there's not. And I'm glad you brought up the Iron Claw because I made that comparison to Smashing Machine to Iron Claw and how one hit and one missed. The Iron Claw wasn't scared to show. They showed the drug use with oh shit, I'm in pain all the time. I got to shoot up. It's the only way I get it. They didn't shy away from the suicide. They didn't shy. You saw that shit. You knew it was. You saw the abusive dad. They weren't scared to show you visually the pain and suffering that sport brings. Whereas in the Smashing Machine didn't show you shit. It's like, so, and I think that's why one hit and one missed. And the lesson there, be smart. Be strategic. You need to know your audience. I'm betting that the majority of the people that went initially on day one to see the Smashing Machine were wrestling fans, were Ultimate Fighter fans who knew who Kerr was. Then they got there and didn't see anything that they enjoy seeing. Wrestling is a spectacle. Ultimate Fighting is a spectacle. There's no doubt about it. And they went and didn't see anything. And I guarantee you that's why that audience faded so fast. So be smart. You have to know your audience. That is how you generate word of mouth. And when you only get really 1 or 2 weekends now to make your money, word of mouth is key to keep it around longer, because you can't assume, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you can't assume that a big name or a logo of a successful studio is going to bring you success, because that is just not the case anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, man. It's true, because in that way, you have to be liberated from yourself. You have to think about what you want to see as a filmmaker. And I feel like too many filmmakers nowadays are putting out things that they think the audience wants to see. But the problem is, you go back and you listen to all these documentaries, you go back and you watch all of these films or about these filmmakers, and they're talking about being an artist and making films that they want to make. They make films for themselves that tell a story,
Yes.
and then the audience love them. Don't think about the audience. You have to think about yourself and what do you want to see, because obviously you got into this business because you know how to tell stories. So trust yourself and tell that fucking story. That's the big thing. It's not all about who you know, it's about what you make and how you market it. That's a huge freaking thing right now. And yes, social media is a double-edged sword, but you have to create that niche on social media, because we are in that day and age and time to where you can reach out to the people you are making the film for. That's the biggest thing.
And you know who is a perfect example of that? Although he's starting to produce some stuff outside of, which I'm a little nervous about. Like, be careful, Jason, be careful. But the perfect example of exactly what you were just saying was Jason Blum with Blumhouse. He said, I can make really good fucking horror films. So I am going to focus on making horror films. I'm going to do it for a low budget. I'm going to target a certain audience, and I'm going to make basically the same style film over and over and over, because that's what I do well. And he made a killing doing that and saw huge success and huge profits. So he's a good example of somebody that wasn't chasing what he thought should be done. He was like, this is what I do well, and I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to market it to the people that I know will watch it. And it was successful. But yeah, he is now putting his name on some other stuff that aren't even horror films, and he's like starting to branch out a little bit. And I'm a little, Jason? And maybe because he started to do that is why a couple of his last horror films missed. They weren't good, right? Maybe he's, you're leaving your lane. You're stepping outside your niche, and you're neglecting what made you. Not always a smart idea. I'm all for growth. I'm all for expanding, learning new things, trying, right? Taking risks. We talk about that all the time. But not at the expense of abandoning what got you where you are. Just, you can take a risk, you can do it something different, but also keep doing what you're doing, because that, you don't want to step away.
It's too early to consider him a sellout, because
definitely
he got
not.
acquired. Blumhouse got acquired by Universal Pictures, but I mean, he's kind of in that same space that Marvel was in a couple years ago, where they're squeezing him. They're squeezing him, and they're gonna get all of this stuff out to where, like, the sequels aren't good. Megan 2, obviously not good.
No.
Huge box office bomb. Black Phone, the original, was great. Loved that fucking horror movie. Loved Ethan Hawke. But they're making this second one. Hopefully it's good. They're making a second Five Nights at Freddy's. Hopefully it's good. Remember, Five Nights at Freddy's did amazing when that first came out, especially when it hit Peacock. So that's the thing, Hollywood. Quit squeezing your creators to create the same shit after their original IP was successful. Let them continue to make original stuff. They don't need to keep getting squeezed from the original story that you want to turn into franchises. We need less franchises and need more story.
Yes,
That's the biggest thing.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think the only time you should see a sequel is if the story was meant to be told in two parts,
There's
right? If
too many sequels now.
it's
It's crazy.
unless it's a story that should have been one movie but was just going to be too long and you needed to split it. That's not
Yes.
technically a sequel. That's just the continuation of the story. I'm okay with that. But if you're making a sequel to a film only because that film made a shit ton of money and you want to capitalize on it, but the story was really kind of wrapped up and there's no need to continue the story, stop doing that.
Yeah, like if I'm remembering correctly, like, and I mean, I think they even play into this in Black Phone too, because I think the trailer's like this. But old Ethan Hawke's character died, but now it's like his spirit or something like that for the second one, and I'm like, this is the shit I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like he died. That was a great movie, but now we're doing this, and yeah, it's super frustrating.
It is, and hopefully it's creative because I'm hoping, there's a line that you hear in the trailer where he says, well, you should know better than anybody when just because you're dead doesn't mean you're gone, right? Which sticks to the premise of the first film, the phone call, dead people trying to communicate, right? So if that's the creative storytelling, if that's how we're moving the story forward, then I think it'll be okay. But if that's not, then I think this film could be in trouble. It's like you got to focus on what made the first film successful and make it a continuation, not just we're just gonna make this like, oh, he didn't die, he's good, he's fine, he's here. Like, no, but he did die, and
Exactly. But yeah, it's crazy, man, where we're at in the entertainment industry, tech coming over and doing all of these things, and yeah, it's scary yet exciting to see where we go, because I feel like we're at the turn of the century, in quotes, for the entertainment industry, to see where we go next. There's so much developing technology out there. Obviously, the scary shit of AI, but hopefully we can turn that to exciting, to where we can use AI to our advantage instead of letting AI take over. The biggest thing is just getting back to the story. That's the biggest thing.
And that's a good way to end it, because I want to make it clear to people that are listening, because sometimes I think we come across as in we hate the tech companies. I don't mind if a tech company wants to buy a studio, because you do need money to make films. And it's better if you have a company that has a lot of money and can take a loss, because this industry, 1 out of every 100 films is profitable, basically. And so to have a company own you that has the money to lose, I'm okay with that. The problem I have is let film people run film studios. You can own it, you can supply the money, and you can reap the profits in when they hit big at the box office. But you don't understand storytelling. So get out of the fucking way of storytelling. Own it, and then it's like a bad general manager in football. If you don't understand football, but you understand business, then just be the business guy and hire a football guy to run it. That's what I think is the problem right now. I'm not anti-tech, and I know you're not anti-tech. I'm not even anti-tech of owning film studios. I just want them to allow film people to run the film studios. It's a win-win for everybody. Trust me, guys. It's a win-win for everybody. Let film people run film studios.